Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Green Man channel. Hope you're all good and well. So I'm kicking off a new series on the channel today, which is called Symphonic Sundays. It's going to be a series dedicated to promoting and talking about symphonic metal and symphonic metal bands. We'll be doing chats like we are today with special guests. We'll do collaborations, reviews, album rankings, all that sort of thing. I'm absolutely delighted to kick off this series with a very special guest who's joining us today. This is Barbara Blackthorne of the band Empress. If you don't know who she is, she's the lead vocalist of that band. So thank you so much for joining me today, Barbara.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Tom. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, and how are you?
I'm doing fabulous, honestly, even though it's gosh, we just got through negative 40 degrees last week of weather here in Canada, my
That's
first Canadian winter, but now I feel like an actual Canadian, having gone through that. So, other than the cold, I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
Yeah, I mean that we Brits, we can't deal with the cold very well. If it goes slightly below zero, we just can't handle it.
Oh,
So
me neither, and I'm not even British, so
yeah. Yeah, there's like a sort of limited range of temperatures we can deal with, like between about 10 and 20 degrees, and we're okay. That's degrees Celsius, and we're fine. But yeah, anything outside of that, we tend to moan a bit about. We always talk about the weather, it's just the way we are, I guess.
oh
Um,
no, it's the same over here, I'm
yeah,
finding, and especially me. So,
cool, cool. Okay, so I just wanted to start really by talking a bit about the time since you released the debut album with Empress, going way back to August of 2022, when Fate Weaver came out and you released that to the world. So how has the last sort of nearly 18 months thereabouts been for you and the band? What's that experience been like releasing that debut album for Empress?
it's been a bit of a whirlwind in like the best way possible. We released Fate Weaver at Mad with Power Fest, um, and it was our first major festival appearance here in the US. Um, and it was just one of those things where we were like, are people gonna like this? It's like our sixth show as a band. Uh, a lot of nerves involved, and then it was just received more than any of us could have hoped, um, in like the most wonderful way. And then since then, we got to play 70,000 Tons of Metal that January following. So that was just a dream come true. It was a festival I had dreamt of playing since I was 15.
And that's
So
on a
nothing
cruise
short of
ship,
amazing.
isn't it? That one.
It is,
Yeah,
yeah. And it was just we have to play alongside bands like Nightwish and Camelot and a
wow.
lot of our heroes.
Yeah,
So yeah, just a complete surreal dream come true. Then shortly after, we got to support Visions of Atlantis, a band like Moonspell, who's such a huge influence on me personally.
yeah.
That was
I've been
amazing.
getting into Visions of Atlantis the last sort of few months, actually. Been getting into their
Oh, they're
stuff a
so
bit more.
good.
Yeah, they really are. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I've been listening to Pirates. Is it Pirates from the same year you released Fate Reaver, I think.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Fantastic record. It
Really
really
great,
is.
really great.
It's
And
like the most fun.
yeah, so I mean that whole experience that I was looking at the lineup of that and just how many amazing bands were on that bill. So yeah, it must have been just a fantastic experience to be alongside them, on that same lineup.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah. And
It
any
was so much fun.
highlights, any memories that you've got from it? Any highlights from that tour?
Yeah, I would say one of my favorite highlights was actually just honestly the ice rink show that we played at 3 in the morning. It was one of those like okay, I never thought I'd be playing on a boat at 3 o'clock in the morning, but here we are. And then immediately afterward, it was just the audience, it didn't matter what time it was, everybody was just there for metal and to party and have a good time. And everyone just gave us so much energy that we weren't exhausted, they weren't exhausted. It was just both of us kind of feeding off of each other and then running right straight from the stage to go up to the deck, catch Warbringer's set, and then watch the sunrise.
Wow.
And it'll stay with me forever.
Yeah, that sounds pretty amazing, actually. Yeah. Maybe I need that on my bucket list to do the 70,000 tons of metal cruise at some
Oh,
point.
absolutely.
Yeah,
I feel like
definitely
every
something.
metalhead needs to do it at least once.
Yeah, I'll add it to the bucket list, I think, for sure. Um, so you mentioned as well supporting Visions of Atlantis. Have you got any tours on at the moment or coming up, or is that all sort of to be confirmed at this point?
So at this point, I have a couple of tours coming up that folks might be able to see me on around North America that I cannot, unfortunately, speak publicly about just yet. So far as Empress goes, we're in the middle of writing our second album, and it's going fantastically. Honestly, like my bandmates might get mad at me for saying it, but I think that it's even better than Fate Weaver, and that's saying something because that was our baby. It was so close to our hearts, and I feel like every band kind of goes through a how are we going to top this kind of thing when they are really proud of their work. Um, but no, in all seriousness, I'm really proud of my bandmates for what we're doing with this second record, and I'm really, really excited to get it out there and share with everyone.
Yeah, and that as as a debut album, I mean, it's a really great album. I've really
Thank you.
really been enjoying it a lot since I've been listening to it. And you know, there's so many fantastic tracks on. So going back a bit to talking about you as a singer uh, for Empress, when did you first realize that you had this ability to sing, first of all?
I feel like I was around the age of 5. I
Wow.
would like to sing along to like Disney, like movies and things like that, like The Lion King. And I remember thinking like, oh, like I feel like I don't sound bad. And my parents were always encouraging of me singing, but they're not particularly musical people themselves. So it was sort of like I'd sing and they'd be like, that's nice, but that was about the end of it. So this was something I kind of really just kept being persistent about and showing other people. And when I was in fourth grade and showed my choir director, then that's when she was like, all right, I want to, kind of take you and kind of mold a little bit. So I'm really fortunate for that.
So you persevered with it. That's interesting. Did you know at a particular point in time when you had the ability to sing or operatically, or did you decide I'd like to be able to learn to do that? Was because I have no expertise or real knowledge on opera singing, so I don't know whether, you know, presumably maybe you need to train your voice to be able to sing like that to a certain extent.
Yeah, no, I was always interested in it, and it's funny that same choir director who I just mentioned, because again, I was around the age of 10. I wanted to really get into singing seriously when I heard Phantom of the Opera.
I
I
love
had a
Phantom of the
cassette tape.
Opera. Yeah,
Oh, it's amazing.
yeah,
And I had a cassette tape that my great grandmother had given me of the original cast with Sarah Brightman and Michael Crawford. And I was just like, I didn't know people could sound like that.
yeah.
And that choir director was like, you can do this in time, but you're so young. I don't want you to damage your voice trying to sing in certain ways. So it wasn't until I was around 16 or 17 that I actually started training operatically. And at that point, working with just honestly, at that point, moving more into metal. And I sang at some sort of function, and a parent of another kid heard me and was like, I know these people who run an operatic choir. I would love for you to come sit in. And I thought I was edgy 16-year-old who was too cool for opera. And I remember I went after much persuading and I sat in and I was just blown away by these women and these girls. And I was just like, I want to sound like that. How do I sound like that? And those choir directors were just so amazing. Like they took me in and they taught me everything I knew.
Wow. Yeah, it's been a great moment when you can realize you can sing like that. For me, I imagine if I could actually sing like operatically or really just kind of sing better than I can, I just think it would be so liberating to be able to sort of express yourself and, you know, let go of like different emotions you've got inside by singing, and particularly sort of with operatic, you can go that bit further and really kind of go from within, can't you? With a really sort of, yeah, big lots of
Yeah,
emotion. Yeah.
absolutely. That's what I love about it. It's just another brush in our toolkit to express ourselves. That's how I always see it.
And you mentioning Michael Crawford. I mean, I love him for a lot of his comedy acting from the Some Others Do Have 'Em days, right? The classic Britcom. And yeah, yeah, always remember that he's also an amazing singer as well. You know, just a multi-talented man. And yeah, Sarah Brightman performing alongside him. I know that because my parents, I think, have got uh, they enjoy listening to that particular performance with him and Sarah Brightman. I know that. So
Hmm.
yeah, so I'm very familiar with Phantom of the Opera. I think I saw it, the show of that back in about sort of 2004-ish, quite a while back, when I was a teenager, and yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah, it was great.
Very nice.
Um, so there's a song on Fate Weaver that I really, really love. And now I like all the songs on there, but there's a particular song that for some reason is the one that really every time I just like, you know, it gives me goosebumps listening to it. I think it's Monarch. Um,
Hmm.
and it feels like on that particular song you're doing quite a few different things vocally. Even in contrast to a lot of the other songs on the album, if you know what I mean. And as I say, I'm no expert with vocals, but there are certain things you're doing in that song with the way you're expressing some of the words in it. Like "lost" is done with real emphasis, and there's a little like, and again, I wish I knew how to describe vocals better, but there's like a leap to a really high note that you do where you sort of go that like that. I can't do it, but it's quite something like, and I really enjoy that particular song.
Thank you so much. No, honestly, I understand everything you're saying perfectly well, and it really means a lot. For me, I put a lot of nuances into my vocal performance, and that track especially, I tried to kind of bring out everything I had when it came to my clean vocals, kind of switching between belting and doing the more operatic sort of things, and that song is probably like one of the, if not the most emotional song on that record for me to sing.
Mm.
Like it's the one that makes me most choked up on stage whenever we do it live, even.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I was thinking actually, if you're singing that, then holding that together, it's kind of a different challenge in itself, isn't it? From just performing the song, but also keeping yourself together as you're doing it. Yeah, yeah, that's something that I think as a performer I would, you know, would probably, you know, if you're able to sing in that way and deliver something in that way, it's quite something to also be able to hold yourself together. Um, yeah, but yeah, Monarch is definitely, I would say, is my personal favorite. Do you have a favorite track? Perhaps a favorite track on the album, but do you also have a favorite track to perform live with the band as well?
Sure. Yeah. Well, it's funny. Monarch, honestly, I think might be my favorite song because it is so personal to me,
Okay.
like lyrically and vocally, all of that. Um, it is very challenging to perform, so I do enjoy performing it live, though it is taxing.
Mm.
I'd say if not that, then my other favorite to perform live might be, it's always either like Beyond the Sleep, I feel like, because I get to do a bit of growling. So
Yeah,
I like to play around with everything in that song. Um, yeah, I guess if I can only pick one other, I'll go with that one.
yeah. There's some really cool little bits of guitar work in that song, "Beyond the Sleep" as well, that I think Vlad and Joseph are doing. If I'm right, there's
Yeah,
a kind
yeah.
of big heavy kind of breakdown bit in that. Yeah, so I like that song a lot as well, "Beyond the Sleep." That's a really good one too. And you close the album with a sort of quite a slow, very emotional song as well. It's which I believe is sort of about grief. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's that Eventide, and that's a really beautiful song and way to finish the
Well,
album as well.
thank you. Yeah, no, you're correct. It's Eventide, and it very much is about loss and grief.
Okay, yeah, so yeah, I mean, I'm very excited if you're doing or you're about to start work on a second, or you, I think you said you were halfway through or something, a second album maybe, or that process. And I do look forward to seeing, hopefully, you know, that get released at some point in the near future. From a fan perspective, I'd probably be saying, when's it coming? When's it coming? You know?
Yeah, no, I always say I'm like I feel so bad, but just soon.
Okay,
It's we want to hear it as badly as everybody else does, and we're working super hard.
yeah.
But what's great is that honestly, at this point, so I've actually transitioned to doing music full time because I have a Patreon. I've been
Oh,
doing
brilliant.
some gig work and session work. Um, and because of my patrons, I'm afforded the ability to just focus on writing. So it's really been really wonderful. I just actually had a writing session the other day with Vlad. Uh, Even though we're 2,000 miles apart, it doesn't really matter with technology. And if anything, I feel like it's almost streamlining this writing process. So, so yeah, all I can say on that front is soon.
I'll be watching this space. I'll be watching this space and looking out for it. Awesome. Yeah. So absolutely can't wait. Now, before we finish things off, because when I was watching your interview with Chill Dude on a Couch, and a quick shout out to him for helping to make this happen because he put me in touch. And I heard from that interview that you like a few other things like video gaming. I think you enjoy fantasy stuff and horror films as well. And obviously on this channel, I talk particularly quite a bit about horror movies. So yeah, I don't know how big a fan of horror films you are, but do you have a particular horror franchise that you like or any of
Oh
that?
yes, no, I'm a major fan. I love horror, and I don't know if I should be embarrassed or proud to admit it. It's basically the only genre I watch other
Really?
than
That's
fantasy.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I like sci-fi. I've been messing around with watching more sci-fi. But so far as franchises go, it's a really tough question for me to pick because there's so many that are so close to my heart. But I feel like I gotta go with just like Halloween.
Yeah. That's the classic slasher film. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't
Oh,
really.
but then there's Hellraiser, and this is the problem because I'll just start thinking of.
Yeah.
I have a
Lots of
hard time
others.
picking favorites.
Hellraiser's an interesting. I do quite like Hellraiser. Yeah, I
Mm.
think it's sort of the first three films, and then it kind of. I've not seen a lot of the others, but I've heard all sorts of things about the all the sequels they've had with Hellraiser. Yeah,
Yeah, I would say once it started, you know, once it passed the third film, definitely a dip. I did enjoy the most recent iteration because like we all know about like, Clive Barker having lost the license there for a little bit and then the battle to get that back. But yeah, I do feel like because of all that, this most recent iteration was such a great return to form for me. So
yeah. This is where I have to admit that's on my watch list. I still haven't seen that one. So yeah, I still need to watch that
it's
one.
very
Yeah,
good.
yeah. Cool. Yeah, I look forward to checking that one out. Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Well, just to say before we close things off, thank you again for coming on to help kick off this new series on the channel. Really appreciate you giving up some time. And I am obviously looking forward to seeing what we get from Empress and yourself all in the future, and good luck with everything with the band and everything else. And yeah, and just to say to all the viewers, don't forget to check out the Empress album, obviously the debut album from 2022. I'll drop a link in the description box so you know where you can go to download that. And yeah, I hope to see you all around next time. Thank you very much. And from me, until our next episode of Symphonic Sundays, bye for now.